All right. So welcome everyone to the Unreal Campaign training session. Before we get started today, we just want to get some announcements and other housekeeping items out of the way. So bear with us for a little bit. So as we mentioned before in our previous communications, the session will be recorded and we will be circulating it to all the volunteers who signed up for the Unreal Campaign Challenge following this call. Because we have a lot of participants today, we want to get the session moving smoothly, so we welcome everyone to use the chat feature if you are joining us on your desktop or your laptop to field any questions that you might have throughout the presentation, and we will make sure to answer them at the end. And if you are joining us on your desktop, you can see the chat icon at the bottom left corner, and you can just type in your questions through there. And last but not least, if you are joining us on audio or on your phone, we kindly ask you to please mute your microphone so that everyone is able to hear the speakers clearly. And when we open the floor to questions at the end, please feel free to unmute yourself as well. So without any further ado, welcome again everyone. My name is Catherine Shen and I'll be the moderator for today. I am INTA's Strategic Partnerships and Unreal Campaign Associate, and I'm also the staff liaison for the Unreal Campaign Committee. This is a really important training session for us, so today we're also joined in the call by Daniela Rojas. She is the chair of the Unreal Campaign Committee, and she will be co-leading the session along with me. Our subcommittee chair, Marcelo Muller, was unable to attend or join this call due to an unpredicted sickness, but he sends his best and we wish him a fast recovery. So a little bit of background about the Unreal Campaign, although I'm sure you're all familiar with it. The Unreal Campaign is INTA's consumer awareness initiative, and we aim to educate young consumers between the ages of 14 to 23 on the dangers of purchasing counterfeit products, as well as the importance of trademarks and brands. So one of the ways in which we do this is through student presentations at our members' local schools. And we are fortunate enough to count with the support of over 90 plus Unreal Campaign committee members that help us bring these presentations to their local schools. So the Unreal Campaign was actually pilot tested, and it started in 2012 here in the United States, which is why in many of the presentations and in many of our content you might still see some of that U.S. heritage or that U.S. focused tone. So the campaign didn't expand internationally until 2016, but since then the committee members along with staff have been working really hard to make sure that all of the content that you see and all of the materials that we have are more regionalized depending on the area of the world that we go to. And last but not least, since the campaign started in 2012, it has reached almost 40,000 students through these student presentations in 38 countries around the world. And we're excited to continue growing the campaign as much as we can and expand our reach in other corners of the world. So the reason why everyone is here today is because of the Unreal Campaign Challenge. And I'm sure you were at the opening ceremonies at the 2019 annual meeting in Boston, where our president, David Lausignol, issued the Unreal Campaign Challenge, where all INTA members were encouraged to conduct at least one student presentation in their local schools. And hopefully we are aiming to reach 2,000 students by the end of this year, so by December 31st of 2019. So we want to help you tackle the challenge, and we want to help you conduct these student presentations. And to do that, we do have an Unreal Campaign toolkit with all the materials that you will need to host one of these sessions successfully. So the toolkit was circulated in our original email, so hopefully everyone has access to it and everyone was able to look through it, or everyone will be able to look through it after this presentation as well. So I will pass it over to Dani Rojas now so that she can give us a rundown of all the materials that are available to volunteers, as well as the process of securing and conducting a student presentation. Over to you, Dani.
Thank you, Catherine. That was a very complete overview of what the Unreal Campaign is. Welcome everybody who's on the call. We're excited to have you as volunteers for the Unreal Campaign Challenge. As Catherine said, we have been presenting internationally or outside of the U.S. since 2016. And, we always say the world is big enough for us to, all of us to put our little effort to bring the campaign to every corner in every city that we can. So thank you for volunteering. I'm going to go a little bit over, for those who are on your computer and can see it, you'll see we'll go over the presentation. So the first thing that we provide to all the volunteers is a toolkit. The toolkit was prepared for to make easier your life when you want to go to a school or to a youth organization or now a college, since we have expanded the age group of the people we are trying to reach to. And the first thing that you'll see in that toolkit is we have, a letter to schools. The letter to schools is prepared in English. However, we're trying to translate it into Spanish. The letter is just a draft. It's something that we provide for to help you. However, you can go ahead and modify it as needed, changing, of course, the name of the school or the contact or the principal, whomever your main contact is. But it kind of gives a presentation of why INTA, what is INTA, and what the Unreal Campaign is and what we aim for. If you want to make very big changes, we encourage you to contact us for our review and approval. We don't want to be sending something that not necessarily is accurate. Also, it has a sample of an agenda. A sample of an agenda is pretty much gives you an overview of what a presentation looks like. Most schools give us an hour. Some schools have given us a little bit over that. Some other schools say, hey, the hour for us is 45 minutes, so you have to crunch everything in that time. But we give you an idea, okay, this is how you will run it, how much time you should allocate to introducing trademarks or what counterfeits are, or to the game, that they all love, Spot the Fake. Then in the same toolkit, you'll have the student presentation. Currently, we have it in six languages, but since now we have this challenge, we have also set a goal for the committee to have the presentation translated in other languages, so we're working on a couple more. Hopefully, we'll have some. But the good news is that for Latin America, we have it in Spanish. We also have it in Portuguese for Brazil, and we have it in English. Some schools, we have noticed that they want to give the presentation as an activity in English so the students can practice during the second language classes. So you're welcome to use either of the presentations. We have worked on, and we'll see it a little bit further, we have tried to work on the presentations to make it more regional, so the marks that are used are going to be known to all the publics in the different countries in the region. Okay, the third document is a flyer. You'll see on that flyer, it's a simple flyer with what Unreal Campaign is and where we have been and what we're aiming. Okay, and then there's two actually waivers in the toolkit. The waivers are needed. Some countries, they don't need them. Some countries like the U.S., we do. And it's just for the image release, because we encourage you guys that, if you're going to do a presentation, take pictures, make sure you send it to us. We love to share that. And now specifically with the Unreal Campaign Challenge, that we even created a hashtag, you're going to be, sharing all that. So if the faces of the kids are in the pictures, we encourage you to get a waiver signed by the school, the parents, whatever their requirements are in each country. But you have two releases, one for adults and one for minors. So all of those documents and materials will be available to you in the toolkit. If you have not had a chance to review them, we encourage you to go over them. And any questions you might have or any recommendations, feel free to reach out to Catherine and Sheila, or to Lorenzo and I as chair and vice chair of the committee, or the current committee. Okay, next is how to secure a student presentation. That's a little bit more of the complicated one, is to open doors, right? It's not necessarily too difficult, but not too easy either. We recommend going first to schools that you might have contacts. You know, your kids went to that school or your partner's kids went to those schools. Reach those that you know, okay, that you'll have easier access to. You can go first and send an email, send a letter. You know, it works differently for everybody. But that's the first step. You need to reach out, introduce the campaign, introduce INTA, and then, you know, let the ball roll on that. You don't need to bring us on board at that point. It's for you to be opening the doors. Again, we talk a lot about schools. School is not the only place where you can give presentations. There are youth organizations. Think of Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, you know, other local or regional associations. Also, you can go to now, since the age has been expanded till 24, you can go in Latin America. There's no colleges, but there's law schools or there are marketing schools, you know, business schools. Don't think this is only prepared for law students. So anybody who deals with brands should probably, even consumers, everybody should know a little bit about the dangers of counterfeit. So once you have been able to get into a school or a youth organization, you know, then what do you do? Okay, at that point, once they say yes, we're interested, you would put, you know, you can put us in contact, and so we can be aware of the presentation. You schedule the presentation, and then, you know, you go and present. That's the second step, and presenting at the local school or, as I said, organization or group is the fun part. Okay. Next slide. There we go. So that's the presentation that you're going to get where, like we said, we have the presentation or PowerPoint presentation to be more specific in several languages. The presentation, it should not be modified without asking us. That doesn't mean we're discouraging you. So if you want to make changes as we go, it's fine as long as we have authorization for any brand owner. And if you have clients that are local marks that you would like to use, we actually invite you to do so as long as we know we are not going to get in trouble and you have the okay to do so. So you already scheduled the presentation. You know you're going to go in. The presentations, the way we tend to recommend is to be given by two people at the same time. It makes it a little bit easier, more fun. There's a dialogue, like it makes it interactive for the students, okay? That doesn't mean you cannot do it by yourself. The presentation, it will show the slides. So that's another thing. When you're securing, try to ask them, you know, if they have audiovisual systems, you know, because you will have to show the presentation on a screen or on a wall. So that's important. So the first thing the presentation shows, it's what is the Unreal campaign. You'll give a brief introduction. Each slide, you don't see it on the screen right now, but each slide has information on the bottom, or any way we can give it to you if you up front if you would want it. You'll tell them why it was created, what is our goal, and what we've been doing. Once you have introduced the campaign, you will start talking, you know, the lawyerly part. What is a trademark? And then you'll explain that. You know, you can ask questions to the kids what they think it's a trademark, and to make it more fun and participative. Okay, then you will go slide by slide explaining what is a word mark. As you can see, we added, you know, the Sony. Then you will go, after you explain what a word mark is, you'll explain what a design mark is. Like I said, there's marks that hopefully will resonate with everybody in Latin America. After you explain those differences, you'll go in and explain also. The next one is a design. There's the Nestle Kit Kat chocolate that everybody loves or not. Next slide, you know, you have other, like the Maggi. I think we all have had un caldito Maggi, you know, growing up. So that's you can talk more about design marks. Next, you have the Pepsi image. All of these, as I said, have been authorized by the brand owner, so there's no problem in using them, or you can add some. after you explain all these three types, we'll go more into talking about the non-traditional marks. And then we have, service marks. We have the slide for the credit cards and the banks. Then we have the holograms, for example, marks with the Visa card. Then we have also as non-traditional mark a slide where you can talk about, the McDonald's or the Apple stores. Okay. You also will have another slide where you're going to be talking about the color marks, olfactory marks, so all of the non-traditional marks. Okay. You don't have to go too much into detail. You will play it by ear depending on the age, if you're talking to law schools or a different type of business school or marketing, or if you're going to talk to 13 or 14-year-olds. So you'll play it by ear on how much detail you want to go into what non-traditional marks or just trademarks in general. Once you have given them some background about trademarks, then you will have to explain the importance of a brand for the consumers, not only from a business perspective, but also why they are important for consumers and why the awareness. Once you have gone into that, we have just a slide, but you can just play, what you want to talk about. As I said, not only consumers, but also the importance for businesses. After you have talked, and you can ask them again what they think, the importance of marks and brands, and in Spanish I'm sure you use the word marcas or marks. You will go into say, okay, so now that we know the importance of what they are, what we're here, now we're going to go into the details of the dangers of counterfeits. Then you'll have a slide about what is a counterfeit, what type of counterfeits there are. You can ask the kids, have you ever bought a counterfeit? Were you aware of it? How do you distinguish? You'll make your own presentation in that regard. Once you discuss what counterfeits are, you're going to have, samples of goods that are counterfeit. Those goods are part of our library, so the pictures were taken by us. And then you'll say, this is how it affects you. How it affects you, how it can affect your family, how can it affect your, close group, and how can it affect your a country and a bigger group, consumers as a whole, the community. You can go into as much detail as you want. There's no specification. As I said, we give you some pointers, but you'll go and add as much information as you want. Once you have explained how the dangers affect, then comes one of the favorite parts. Again, this one says, "Has visto productos falsos," which means, you can talk a little bit more where in the streets or in a business can you find products. You can go in and talk a lot about websites and all the online platforms, since it seems thanks to the online shopping, they're finding a lot of the counterfeits. You'll have some slides about them and, using comparison with goods. And then you'll have, here some, again, the fakes and the reals. You don't have to pick because, thank God, we show which one is which one. In the case of the Apple plugs, the one with the green dot is the original. The next slide, it's like, how can we protect ourselves against counterfeits? What can we do? How active can we be in our fight against counterfeits? And then you'll start talking about it. We'll give you pointers, but you can talk as much as you want about that. You'll fill the group again and the age targeted. The next slide, it's the game, Spot the Fake. And they love this. And you will say, the next slide will show a picture, and you can tell them, raise your hand who thinks it's the one on the left, one on the right, why, what do you see the differences are. And don't worry, the following slide will tell you exactly which one is which one. Okay, so you don't have to guess yourself. We'll have several slides. This is the Timberland, then we have the Puma tennis shoes. That's one that the kids don't get a lot. Then we'll have this one. This one also, it will help you talk not only about the product itself, but let the kids know that a lot of the packagings can be counterfeited, and it's sometimes we're fooled with packaging. A lot of people don't know that packaging can also be counterfeited. So this slide will help you talk a little bit about that when you're playing the game. The next slide is, we finish and you just have to close, do your conclusions, talk to the kids about their thoughts about it, and then do a summary of like, hey, let's remember all this and the reasons why we're having this conversation. And I think that's the last slide. Oh no, so it's important in this one. We're very lucky to have sponsors that year after year sponsor the campaign, and with those sponsors is how we are able to do a lot of the things that we do. So it's important that you mention them. You don't have to say all of their names, but you say, this campaign has been sponsored by important brand owners that believe in the campaign, who have suffered, problems thanks to counterfeit goods or services that are out there. So we thank them, for this opportunity of being here to giving you the presentation. And that's pretty much all you have to say. If you want to list some of them or you want to mention all of them, it's up to you. But it's, we like and we tell the sponsors that this slide is included in the presentation and it's mentioned. Okay, we highlight this. And that's it. Pretty much that's a quick run of the presentation. Again, like I said, we'll give you the pointers. You're all experts in our field, so you'll know how to run it. There's nothing extra we can say. You'll test the waters, the age group that you're talking to. You can use examples of your own, and we always also encourage, if you have access to products that are genuine and fakes and you can bring them to show them also in person, we encourage you to do that. Really, kids love that. We also would like you to mention in the end that Unreal Campaign has some presence on social media, not some presence, but we do have presence and on social media that, share with them the information about our Facebook, our Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram accounts. Encourage them to follow us, to tell their friends and family about us, to tell them to follow us, because if they enjoy the Spot the Fake game on the presentation, they'll have a chance also to check kind of Spot the Fake uploads in our social media to continue learning. Also, we would tell them, depend on the age, hey, help us spread the word if you know of anybody else who would like to hear about the presentation, or let us know recommendations if you follow up our social media and you consider there should be changes or updates. Just send us an email, keep in contact with us, anything to really engage the kids, it's important. Then you'll have the questions and best practices. I don't know, in this case, Catherine, do you want to jump in and say if I forgot anything in my run-through?
No, I think it was a great run-through of how a student presentation usually goes. We usually get a lot of questions about what to do before, what to do during, and what to do after a student presentation. So we've compiled all of those questions into an FAQ sheet. So all of these frequently asked questions have been put together, and we have answered all of them, and we will distribute this sheet after the call so that everyone has access to it. But we just wanted to reiterate some best practices that Danny mentioned before as well, in terms of taking photographs and using waivers, as well as changing the PowerPoint presentations or using samples of genuine and counterfeit products. So in terms of taking photographs, we obviously highly encourage you to take pictures during the presentation. We want you to be able to showcase what you do and the classroom that you go to. But in most cases, because we do deal with a large majority of underage students, we do need their parent or guardian to sign the waivers in order for us to use their image or photograph. But in the case that you do not have the appropriate waivers before the presentation, you are more than welcome to continue taking pictures, but we recommend you to do it from the back of the classroom so that the students' faces aren't showing. And just know that taking pictures and getting these waivers signed is not mandatory. So if you think that a school would be against signing waivers or anything to that effect, please let them know that we do not need to take photographs, and it's a voluntary thing that they're able to sign and they're able to do if they want to opt into it. In terms of changing the presentation, as Danny mentioned, we want you to be able to make it as personalized and for you to be as creative with it as you would like. But if you want to make any changes, or if you do make any changes, we do ask you to share those changes with INTA staff and Unreal Campaign Committee leadership before, so that we can approve it and that we can review it before you use it at a student presentation. And the brand owners or the brands that you see in the PowerPoint presentation are brand owners that have given us the appropriate permission, so we want to respect the permission that they gave us. So if there are any brands that you think would be more applicable to your specific country that you would like to include, we welcome you to do so, as long as you have a written permission from the brand owner that says, yes, please go ahead and use my brand in the presentation. So we really value that, that authorization first as well. And there are also notes and videos throughout the presentation that we encourage you to use as you see fit. So if you think that the videos would be more engaging for the students, please feel free to show them. We weren't able to include them in this training, but when you have the presentation, when you open the presentation, you'll be able to see them. And then the notes are there to guide you. But as we said, please feel free to make it as personal and as much of it your own as you would like. And then last but not least, in terms of using samples, we did the Spot the Fake game where we asked students to identify the real and the fake product in the PowerPoint presentation itself. But we also find that having physical products that they can pass around, they can touch and interact with, is also a very good way to engage with the students. INTA is unfortunately unable to ship the ones that we have in our library internationally, and even within the United States we have limited capacity to do so. But if you have any clients, or if you yourself are a brand owner and you have permission from your clients to use some of the samples that they have in this presentation, we highly encourage you to bring them to the classroom, since it's something that the teenagers or the students or whoever the young consumer that you're speaking to is, it's something that they really enjoy. So we highly encourage this practice. And then going forward, the last step in organizing these student presentations is reporting it and promoting it after it's completed. So once you do complete your student presentation, we would love to hear from you about how it went, any feedback that you might have. We just want to learn about your experience and anything that you changed, anything that you did differently. We love hearing those types of comments. So for you to communicate that to us, there is a completed form within the volunteer toolkit, so you can report back to INTA once your student presentation has been completed with all of these details. And then we also encourage you, if you were able to take any photographs, please send them our way. We can share them on our Unreal Campaign Twitter and other INTA social media channels as we see fit. And last but not least, we 100% encourage you to post your own pictures and your own experiences to your own social media platforms. And as Danny mentioned, we did create a hashtag for the challenge, and the hashtag is UnrealChallenge. So any pictures that you took during your presentations, please feel free to post them and use that hashtag as well. So now we will open the floor to any questions. I know that there are a couple that are coming in from the chat feature, and somebody asked, can I change the brand? So as we mentioned before, if you do think that there are any regional brands or brands specific to your country, any local brands that you think would resonate more or would resonate better with the audience that you are talking to, feel free to, as long as you have the written permission from that specific brand owner, and if you can share that with us as well for our records, then that would be great. Another question that came up, because Danny mentioned other youth organizations or other youth groups, somebody asked if I have a connection with an association that could help promote the Unreal campaign, can I contact them on behalf of INTA? The short answer is please let us know what the organization is or what the association is, and if you could make the connection and connect INTA staff and the committee leadership with them, then we would obviously encourage or welcome any type of opportunity that we would have to bring the campaign to a larger audience or to expand the campaign as much as we can. Any questions from people that are on the phone? All right. If there are no other questions at the moment, if you think of any, sorry?
This is Danny. I just wanted to say, when we're talking about best practices also, I would like to share some personal best practices that I have tried to incorporate when I give presentations after, having participated, having been lucky, because it's lucky to be able to participate. You'll see how fun and rewarding it is to include. And so, for example, as we all know, teenagers tend to be quiet, especially in their classroom or their teachers are present. So a good way, for example, to engage them and break the ice is to start by, also giving like a personal story of how, for example, you bought something thinking it was real, and the moment it was delivered to your door, you found out it was fake, or you bought something in your earlier days that it was fake, but you could not get the original, and then something happened. That way they'll say, oh, okay, if I open up, I'm not the only one. The presenter also went through something similar. So try to be very approachable to them, and so they will feel more open. Doesn't happen all the time. There's classrooms where you go in and they're very open and willing and engaging to talk about these issues. They will be even saying, my parents do this, or my friends do that, or I have bought this. But if you start by sharing some stories, it will make it more real for them that it's not a problem. It's something that just happens and we have to avoid, and it has happened to you the same way it has happened to them and many others. That's just a best practice that I have incorporated myself. Also, depending or where the presentation will be given, I try to, for example, dress differently. If I'm going to college, where they'll have more respect for someone who is dressed up as, lawyerly, then you'll do that. If you're going, like I've had, to school where it's, section C or D income kids, I try to just dress, comfortable in jeans so they don't feel, uncomfortable with a person in a business suit. So those are just simple practices that I try to do to make sure that I reach the kids and they feel comfortable and engaging in during the presentation. And that's just Danny personal tips.
Thank you so much for sharing those, Danny. I think those are helpful too in terms of just engaging with the students and being able to connect with them on another level as well. Are there any other questions at the moment? All right, so if there are no other questions, if you think of anything, please feel free to email us. We will send this recording out to everyone that signed up so that if you want to, you can look back at this for any other tips that you might have missed or any other insight that you just want to look back on. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much, Danny, for leading this call and for leading this training session. Thank you, everyone, for taking on the challenge, and we look forward to connecting with you soon and seeing all of the students and all of the young consumers that we can reach together. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for your time, and good luck.
Yes, good luck. Thank you.
Bye.